All right, YouTube, how you doing? Welcome back to the channel. It is August 9th. We have a jam-packed MLB slate on this lovely Wednesday. Like we always do, we're going to jump into each and every game. I'm going to give you my thoughts. I'll give you my lean or leans on the games, but all my final plays will be in the pinned comments. So keep an eye on that. If you do want to fade me, my picks will be in the pinned comments. So what I'm actually going to be rolling with myself tonight. Coming off of a nice 3-1 night. You know what? We'll take the cha-ching. Phillies cover their run line in game one of the doubleheader. The Cubs money line, they come back and squeak out the win, and then Corey Seager just goes absolutely off. In fact, if you're not following me on Twitter, make sure you are following me on Twitter at EvGuyBoston. The username will pop up right around here during the show as well. But I tweeted out, I said, if Corey Seager hits a home run tonight, I'll cash app someone $25. He hit a home run. Only a few people replied, so I haven't picked it yet, but I am cash apping someone $25 today. So guys, make sure you are following me over there on Twitter, tweeting out a bunch of different picks and stuff like that as well. And then the Twins money line, yeah, you know what? They get smoked. That was a bad one, but we'll take the 3-1 profitable night. And speaking of profit there, our ride of the day also comes through here for some plus money. Pumping the crowd noise. We had Ralph coming in clutch with Freddie Freeman over 1.5 hits. He got it for plus 130, and Freeman went off yesterday as well. If you guys do want to be the ride of the day, all you got to use is hashtag ride of the day. That hashtag right there, hashtag ride of the day in the comments. Leave me an absolute banger, a lock that you think is a great pick in the comments. I'm jumping on board with one person's pick and giving you guys a shout out in the next video, win or loss. And before we get into the picks today, guys, I do want to talk to you about the NFL Survivor Pool that we have started, completely free to enter. I have a link in the description. No gimmicks, no nothing. It legit is a pool that I am hosting, completely free to enter, and then I'm giving away $100 to whoever makes it the farthest or whoever wins at the end of the season. If you don't know what the Survivor Pool is, you pretty much pick a team to win each week. You just can't pick the same team twice. So if you use the Patriots, you can't use them again later on in the season. It is really fun. If you've never done it, I highly consider you trying it because this one is completely free and it's double elimination. So if you lose, you still have one more life in it. So make sure to find that link in the pinned comment, guys, and go sign up. Again, this isn't like a gimmick or anything. It legit is just completely free. And I'm taking money out of my own pocket to give away to the winner. Like, this is just something fun that we're doing. Go sign up. It's an absolute no-brainer. Let's jump into game number one here. We got Cincinnati taking on Miami. They've split the series so far, which makes a lot of sense, right? Like, these two teams are just absolutely in the dumps. So Cincinnati wins game number one 5-2. Miami bounces back yesterday and wins 3-2. Graham Ashcraft on the mound here for Cincinnati today, going up against Johnny Cueto, who has not looked great this season since coming back. So I'm going to lean towards the Reds in this one at minus 120 odds over on FanDuel. I do think that obviously, the Reds offense is going to struggle like it kind of has. But if you look at these two pitchers, like Graham Ashcraft is playing a lot better than Cueto. Ashcraft with a 1.6 ERA over his last 5 starts here. And Cueto on the season, he's only had the 4 starts here, just not looking all that great. A 5.32 ERA. Not letting many guys on base. I'll give him credit there. A 0.95 whip. But again, just doesn't have the consistency in him. So give me the Reds on the money line. And also, I do think that these two teams are in the dumps enough right now that they're just kind of flip-flop, like, I'll win, you'll win, I'll win. So it's the Reds' turn in a sense too. But give me the Reds on the money line. And then in terms of the total 10 runs, I can't trust either of these offenses to go towards the over, but I also could totally see either one of these pitchers having one of their bad games. So I'm going to stick away from the total here. I think it usually would have been under or pass, but it's really not tickling my fancy. So if something's not going to tickle my fancy, I'm not putting money on it, all right? So yeah, I'm passing on the total, but I do think that Cincinnati does have a slight edge here on the money line today. All right, Milwaukee taking on Colorado here. That game was pretty crazy last night. They legit, I felt like, went back and forth to the point where I wanted to watch the highlights in the morning. Didn't catch the game live, obviously. Rockies win that one in extra innings. And today, again, the Brewers are such heavy favorites, and I get it. It does make sense, but you do have a Rockies team that is at least competing compared to yesterday. We've seen the first game, they got blown out. Now, yesterday, they won this, like, heartthrob of a game, heart-pounding type finish. So give me the Rockies Rockies on the money line as a lean. I don't think it becomes the final play because I'm still, you're still betting on the Rockies, momentum or not. They could obviously go out there and blow it, but I don't really see the value in the Brewers minus 225, especially after last night. What I do think has a chance of being a final play would be the under 9.5 here, just because these two teams did play an extra innings, sort of a thrilling type finish yesterday. I feel like you always have sort of a come down spot in those types of after those types of games. So Flexen's on the mound for Colorado. We don't necessarily love that. He hasn't been all great. Adrian Hauser on the mound for Milwaukee. He's had his good games, his bad games. So I'm really hoping these two guys can kind of step up and pitch well here. But yeah, overall, I'm just looking for that sort of come down spot in terms of what we saw last night, which again, even in extra innings, we only saw a 10 total finish, right? I don't think we're going to see the Brewers drop 12 runs again. Like, that was so out of the ordinary for them. The Rockies only scored 1 run in game number 1, and then they kind of went off late in the game and scored 7 runs yesterday. So I do think both these offenses, this line is just a little bit too high. It should be where it was in game 1 and 2, 8 and 8.5. So the fact that it's jumped up to 9.5, give me the under today. Keep an eye on the pinned comment to see if that does ultimately become a final play. All right, Oakland taking on Texas. Not much to see here, folks. I'm going to lean Texas again. I guess, we could consider them on the run line, but their actual run line today is 2.5. Like, obviously, that's a rare thing in baseball when it jumps that much, but you couldn't even really consider them minus 1.5 because the odds would be so terrible. So this is a very weird spot. A is just not looking like they're even competing in this series. I guess you could say just overall, too, right? Like, this is a bad team going up against a good team. What I do like, again, is probably taking a peek at the over. We just haven't had much luck doing that so far because this is such a one-sided game. So we might find some player props just like we did last night in this game, but overall kind of just the books are sharp to this one. Not much edge in this one whatsoever, so I apologize for that, but you gotta, it is what it is at some point, right? You gotta understand that not every game is bettable, not every game has an edge. The Oakland A's are so bad. Texas is starting to play a little bit better, right? They've won like 7 or 8 in a row. Not much edge, not much value in this game, unfortunately. What there is value in is hitting the subscribe button and the like button. Go ahead and smash those, guys. You guys have been killing the like button and the subscribe button as of late. I would truly appreciate it. You guys are the reason we are growing and continuing to grind and all of that, like giving me a reason to wake up early every morning and talk to thousands of people. Like, that is crazy. I put out a YouTube short yesterday just talking about how I don't take any of this for granted. Like, I'm just someone that's willing to work. You guys are putting me in the position to get eyeballs and interact with the content. Like, it's on you guys, and I do truly appreciate how much we have grown. But hit that subscribe button and hit that like button. Absolutely crush that like button. Act like that like button did something to your family and you were so mad at it that you're gonna punch it in the face. Hit that like button, guys. Free to do for you, free to subscribe as well, and helps out the channel a ton. Consider becoming a baller too. $2.99 a month. You're getting our models every single weekday, sometimes on weekends as well, to help you in your sports betting research. It's also a great way to support the channel. But we got the Phillies taking on Washington, and was I not spot on with how doubleheaders get weird? Like, I feel like I'm starting to get validated. If you watch every day, I have like this doubleheader phobia. Yesterday's a perfect example of it. The Phillies, who were the better team, go out there and smoke Washington in game number 1, and that's the bet that we were on, right? I was like, I'm not touching that game number 2. Washington comes in and wins 5-4, which I will say that was the matchup from the day before, Suarez going up against Gray. We did lean Washington for some plus money, so I don't think we're ever going to make that a final play, but nonetheless, it kind of shows how teams act differently in doubleheaders. Obviously, pitching is going to be a factor, but I'm glad we stayed away from that last game because the Phillies are the better team, and I do lean Phillies again today. They have Lorenzen on the mound, who has looked decent for them. He only has the one start for them, right, in which he pitched 8 innings, 6 hits. Don't necessarily love to see that, but 5 Ks and only 2 earned runs and 1 base on ball. And one of those earned runs was a home run, right? So keep that in mind as well. He had a 1 ERA. He has a 1 ERA in his last 5 starts here. But nonetheless, I lean towards the Phillies. I'm glad we picked the right game yesterday to bet on them, but today they're a little bit too juiced to consider becoming a final play at minus 175. But keep an eye on the pinned comment. We've done crazier things on the channel before. Total right now is sitting at 9. I lean slightly over, slightly over. We've seen an 8-4 game, a 5-4 game. We have a pitcher on the mound in Mackenzie Gore that obviously, I will give him credit that he's pitched well as of late, but that this guy can just go out there and let up a million runs any given moment, like he's already done to this Phillies team. About a month ago here, he pitched 2 2/3, let up 7 earned runs in those few innings there, and he even didn't really have that great of a game back in a month prior to that. He only pitched 6 innings, letting up, I think, 9 hits, 3 earned runs, something like that. So he has a track record where he hasn't necessarily pitched all that well against his team either. So I'm going to lean towards the over as well as the Phillies on the money line. Keep an eye on that pin comp to see if it becomes a final play. All right, next up we have Detroit taking on Minnesota. Again, the Twins were one of our final plays yesterday, and you know what? This is how they played. I know some people love the womp womp, some people hate it. Let me know in the comments if you hate the womp womp or if you love it. But the Twins did play like a sack of garbage yesterday, scoring 0 runs, and Tigers went out there and put up 6, so good for them. Fado's on the mound for the Tigers today. He just had his first good start in forever. Last game out, he pitched 6 innings, only a 1-hitter against the Padres, 0 earned runs. Going up on the mound for Minnesota here is Bailey Ober, who has been fairly consistent. He has a 2.8 ERA in his last 5, and that's including a game in which he got shelled by Kansas City. Kansas City shelled him. So I am willing to look at the Twins here and say, okay, you were playing really good baseball. You caught one slip-up game against Detroit. Get the train back on the tracks before we say, oh my God, I can't believe this Minnesota team is crumbling. I'm not ready for that yet. Give me Minnesota here on the money line, minus 162. In terms of the total, 8.5. We saw game number 1 go 9-3, and then the Tigers offense maybe heating up just a little bit after yesterday. I'm going to lean towards the over here. It could be crazy, but these two teams are starting to bat righties a little bit better. So on the season, you're looking at the Tigers batting righties 228, and both these pitchers are righties. And then the Twins batting 240 against righties on the year, right? Well, in the last 5 games, you have them both batting, funnily enough, 264. So they're kind of starting to turn it on a tad bit against righties here, getting a little bit better. So you've seen some progression there. So hopefully the bats do come alive just a bit today, enough for Minnesota to win the game, but also for that over to have a chance to hit as well. All right, Tampa Bay taking on St. Louis. Tampa Bay gets the win yesterday, winning that one 4-2. St. Louis had been playing, I don't want to say decently well because they're winning games, losing games, winning games, losing games, but they had been scoring a lot of runs up until either the second or third game in that Colorado series. Now it seems like they've kind of slowed down a little bit, and that's what I think the Rays are going to be able to capitalize on now. They're tossing Jalen Beeks today, which I've talked on the channel before. I don't really love openers. I don't love betting on games with openers because it really comes down to the bullpen. So luckily for the Rays, that bullpen is decent. On the season, I think they have a 2.96 or 2.98 ERA, but the last 3 games here, 4.12, so it's jumped a little bit. The available bullpen has jumped up as well, 3.12. Now, that's still a really good bullpen, but it shows that some of the guys that normally pitch for them are probably resting today. So I'm still going to lean towards the Rays because I think that the better team won, and, we'll trust the bullpen too, going up against, for St. Louis, Dakota Hudson, who only has 2 starts on the season and hasn't looked all that great anyways, right? So give me the Rays here, but again, I don't love, I do think, and let me know, maybe I'm crazy, but just in my experience, ever since openers became a thing, what was it, 2 years ago, maybe 1 or 2 years ago, right? It became hard to bet on because a lot of baseball betting is looking at the starting pitching, that team, players that are, going up against the left hand, right hand of that starting pitcher, blah, blah, blah. And opener kind of throws that out the window. So, just makes it a little bit harder, I guess. There's still edge and opportunity there, but nonetheless, I'm leaning towards the Rays on the money line here. Total sitting at 9.5. We saw a 4-2 game yesterday. I guess I have to lean towards the under because I think this Rays team is, working its way to being back to one of the really good teams in the league, but we've been too inconsistent from an offensive perspective, right? They'll score 10 runs against Detroit, but the game before, they only scored 2 runs, and they've kind of gone in a low-scoring run, a high-scoring run, low-scoring run, high-scoring run pattern. Scoring 4 runs, I'm kind of like, is it high? Is it low? We don't really know what we're getting from the offense here, so it's probably that or pass on the total for me today, but I don't mind Tampa Bay on the money line. All right, guys, before we jump into the rest of the slate, I do want to take this time to talk about the Fade Me store, the brand here on the channel, fademe.store. Make sure to go check it out. I got a pinned comment link for you guys. I'll also put it in the description, but we've been really sinking our teeth into this brand, and I appreciate everybody that has been purchasing. I got the Fade Me Blue Mountain tee on here. We got the Fade Me Bats tee. We got the Fade Me football tee. Let's go through it here. Some of the greatest stuff out there. I mean, it's not the greatest, but it is damn good merch, especially for what are we doing here. Here's the Fade Me backboard. It's not the greatest merch in the world, but I believe in it, and I do really like it, and it's really good quality. So yeah, I don't want to sell a used car salesman being like, it's the best stuff in the world. It's not the best stuff in the world, but it's damn good for what you're paying and what you're getting. You'll definitely appreciate. So if you do want to support the channel, if you do want to pick up some gear, just use that link in the pinned comment. You can always use code FADE, save 10% at checkout, FADE. really helps support us and grow and continue to make this awesome content for you guys. So make sure to go pick up some Fade Me gear, guys. Again, that link is going to be in the pinned comment. We have tons of stuff. That is not the only, catalog, that we have here. We got a bunch of stuff over there, especially some of the beverage collection, if you will. I do like those a lot. So make sure to go check that out. That link is in the pinned comment. Pick up some Fade Me gear. Let me know in the comments if you are copping something. We got Pittsburgh taking on Atlanta for our next game here. Pittsburgh, wins game number 1, and then Atlanta bounces back and wins game number 2 here. The only thing that I'm liking in this game is probably going to take a peek at the over 9.5. Other than that, the odds just kind of have me not really finding anything tempting in this game, whether it's even Pittsburgh. They have Quinn Priester on the mound, who I'm still I would say I'm still out on, the jury's still out on, that type of thing. So I don't really want to back them. Even on the run line, I'm not looking at it, but I don't mind the over, just given the fact that, the Pittsburgh offense clearly in this series at least has been scoring a decent amount of runs, and we know what we're going to get from Atlanta. And I keep saying it for this game, right? Like, if these two teams just do what they've done, they'll cash the over. Atlanta averaging 5.7 runs on the season here, and Pittsburgh averaging almost 4.2. So that would result in 9.9 runs, right? So hopefully we do see this sort of pace continue, because that is the only thing that I'm really tempted to pull the trigger on in this game, the over 9.5. Next up, we have Baltimore taking on Houston. Houston edges out the win yesterday, 7-6 here. In terms of what we're seeing on the mound today, we got Jack Flaherty obviously making his second start for Baltimore after being traded from St. Louis, going up against Christian Javier. Javier is a 3.8 ERA in his last 5 here. Baltimore's pitcher, Jack Flaherty, has a 2.2 ERA over his last 5. Not all that bad. He has had success against Houston this season already. He pitched 6 innings, only allowing 2 earned runs with 9 Ks back in, not this season, excuse me, in the past, back in, I think it was 2021. Meant to say in his career. So maybe that comes through again. I do like Baltimore to kind of bounce back here. Obviously, we're winning that game at times too. Let it slip away. They are the hotter team right now, but I don't want to necessarily, throw out the illusion that this Houston team isn't hot. Like, Houston is playing good baseball as well. Both of these teams have won 7 of their last 10 games. So I don't want to, act like Houston stinks or that Baltimore's going to crush them. This is going to be a close one no matter what. I do just like Baltimore and the pitcher today. And if you want to say, a few years ago, Jack Flaherty goes up against Houston, that is nothing to even care and consider. That's totally fair. I'm not saying that Jack Flaherty is going to repeat history, but I'm just saying he has had success against that team. A lot of different names in that Houston lineup, right? So you can kind of tell. I'm leaning Baltimore, but I'm not necessarily trying to tell someone to get off of Houston if you are looking at Houston money line today. A play that I do think can cash, undoubtedly, and I say that with a smirk on my face because nothing is undoubtedly, but the over 9.5 here, regardless of the pitchers on the mound. Both of these offenses looking pretty good as of late. Baltimore only has a couple slip-ups in their last 6 games or so where they only score a few runs, and same thing for Houston. You have two teams that truly, their floor right now is I would say 4 runs. That's that. If they just play to their floor, you're looking at an 8-run game without a home run, without any sort of extracurriculars happening, right? So if they can play to their floor, we only have 2 runs to cover there to cash this over and get into double digits. Give me the over in this one. It was at 9. You can see in the graphic it says 9. I'm seeing it 9.5 on all sportsbooks that I have access to. If you can get it at 9, obviously way better value. All right, Mets, Cubs. The Cubs squeak out the win for us yesterday, so shout out to them for coming up clutch. They win that game 3-2. You have 2 pitchers on the mound that can get hit hard today, so I do jump towards looking at an over 9 in this game. The only concern is the fact that, you do have 2 teams that, the Cubs went on their little scoring rampage, right? Now they've scored 5 runs through 2 games in this series. The Mets, yes, they had that 11-run game, but prior to that, they're barely scoring 3 runs. So, if you look at it from a pitcher's perspective, there is value in taking the over. You look at it from the offensive perspective, it probably keeps you away from it. So I'm over or pass in this game. In terms of a money line, David Peterson's been pitching better than, he had in the season, but I still don't really love him. I'm going to lean towards Kyle Hendricks and the Cubs here on the money line. Hendricks coming off of a rough game, 4 innings pitched, 8 hits, 7 earned runs, and 2 homers. But it was against the Braves. And what did I say? It was either yesterday's video or the video before when I was like, there is something to be said for pitchers that the only true blemish on their recent starts was against the Braves, because the Braves are such a powerhouse offensively. So it's not that crazy. 7 earned runs through 4 innings is crazy. Don't get me wrong. But there is sort of a story to be told there, right? It was against the Braves. It wasn't like he did that against the Giants or something like that. So for what it's worth, I kind of rule that one out, and that would obviously bring the ERA down just a hair. Give me him and the Cubs on the money line. And like I said, kind of over or pass for me as well. All right, if you guys are still watching at the 19-minute mark, go ahead and drop your favorite athlete that ever wore 19 in the comments. It doesn't need to be the best or the greatest athlete of all time that wore 19. Who is the first name that comes to mind? Because I got a weird one. Mine is Joe Thornton, hockey player for the Bruins. I don't know why. I think 19, boom, I picture it in the blue and gold hockey jersey. So obviously not the best athlete of all time to wear number 19, but it does jump right into my head. But there's plenty of others. Once you think about this for a few seconds, you can think of some. 19 is a tough number, right? But nonetheless, it doesn't need to be the best, it doesn't need to be the most talented. Just who is that first sort of initial gut reaction, who you think of, any sport, when it comes to wearing number 19. Drop that in the comments, guys. I'm loving doing this more than just the numbers. So we'll probably do something similar to this as we progress and grow the channel as well. But we got the Cleveland Guardians taking on Toronto here. And this one, I'm leaning towards Toronto again. They do obviously, get edged out yesterday. Cleveland wins 1-0, but I like this spot for Toronto. We've seen a couple low-scoring games in this series, so I'm going to lean towards the under as well. But you have Kevin Gausman on the mound, who's been pitching well, not getting much run support, going up against Logan Allen, who has been pitching well as well, getting a decent amount of run support from his team. But I don't know if that necessarily continues today, because this Cleveland team struggles and has been struggling to hit the ball, and they're going up against a really good pitcher in Gausman today. And then you have the Blue Jays, who in their last 5 games are batting nearly 400 and averaging almost 7 runs per 9 against left-handed pitchers here. And you can even extrapolate it, right? Okay, fine. 5 games, too small of a sample size. Well, in their last 10 games, they're still batting over 300 for average against left-handed pitchers. So give me the Blue Jays here on the money line, minus 148. And like I said, I like the under in this game as well. I'm trusting 2 good pitchers. All right, Boston taking on the Royals here. Red Sox lose yesterday 9-3. Jordan Lyles on the mound for Kansas City today, going up against Nick Pivetta, who has had just such an up and down season. His first start after, I guess, going to the bullpen did look decent. 7 1/3 pitched against Seattle, 3 earned runs, 10 strikeouts. They did ultimately lose the game, but he had a rough start to the year. Goes to the bullpen, kind of dealt in the bullpen like really well for, what would you say, like a month and a half, and then comes back, has 1 start and looked decent. So I'm gonna back the Red Sox again, but it's minus 220 right now. A lot of juice to be paid there. So probably is a Red Sox or nothing. I don't trust them on the run line as favorites on the run line here, minus 1.5. They've only covered that in 2 of their last 10, one of them being against Kansas City here. So it's probably a Red Sox money line in some sort of parlay or pass for me. Total right now sitting at 10.5, way too high of a number for me, okay? I get it. Yesterday was a 12-run game. The game before was 8 runs, but 10.5, I don't want to trust either of these offenses to truly come in here and just score a bunch of runs, right? Like I told you guys how this Red Sox team works. Like, I'm the Red Sox whisperer, right? They go in waves of winning and scoring, and now look at them in the last 10. They've only won 2 of their last 10. They're absolutely just up and down. And I told you that San Francisco series was the one where we'd see if the wheels were off. The wheels came off. We blew the right tire, blew the left tire, the rear tires, all that. This Red Sox team can't trust their offense when they're in the middle of a rut like this. And Kansas City, though they went on that stretch, I don't believe that that's still going on, right? So give me the under. That total is just way too high. Well, we had a feeling it would happen. New York did bounce back last night against the White Sox. They win 7-1. We don't have any sort of lines, odds, or total here for this game right now because we don't know who's pitching for the Yankees. In terms of even who's due up, I'm not exactly sure. I think it could be Severino, but I don't know what they're doing with him. But nonetheless, guys, we'll wait for any sort of final plays and just be able to see the lines in this game once we have starting pitchers. So keep an eye on the pinned comment for that and see if we roll with anything in this game. But obviously, we want to shore up some of those, blank spaces, question marks, etc. Though it is blank on the graphic, we do have a total now as well as moneyline odds for this game. Right now, LA is minus 125 over on DraftKings. They're minus 142 on FanDuel right now. So there is some EV there when you look at the Angels, which I do like the Angels in this spot over on DraftKings. So if you have that, go there now because I think those odds are probably going to, find your water's going to find its level. And then the total right now is at 7.5. I have a feeling this has to go over. You do have Ryan Walker on the mound, which, like I said, I don't really love openers. The Shohei Ohtani is on the mound for the Angels. He didn't look all that, they pulled him after, what was it, 3 or 4 innings. I don't know if it was just a rest thing or whatnot, but he was pitching. Didn't look all that bad is what I'm saying, and still only pitched like 5 innings or so recently after having a complete game just a couple nights back. But nonetheless, give me the Angels on the money line here. I like that value at minus 125. They win yesterday 7-5. Had a feeling they would bounce back there, and the total is 7.5. It's just a little bit too low for me to pass up, so I lean towards the over as well. It's just a low number. All right, we got Arizona taking on the Dodgers here. I didn't pull the trigger, but kind of funny how I faded my own self in yesterday's video, and that under ended up cashing, you know what I mean? So that would have worked out. They finished at 9 runs. The total was 9.5. I pretty much said if you missed the end of that yesterday's video, or actually it wasn't even the end of yesterday's video, but if you missed that pick, it was kind of like, this just has to be a regression spot for how many runs have been scored in Dodgers games. And 5-4, I wouldn't say it's a low-scoring game, but it still did catch the under, so I chuckle at that. But in this spot, you got to take the Dodgers, right? -130. It almost feels like a trap. Bobby Miller on the mound going up against Merrill Kelly. Both these guys have been pitching decently well. 2.4 ERA for both of them in their last 5 here. But you just look at that offense. Dodgers over the last 10 betting 266 against righties. Arizona only averaging 2 runs per 9 against righties and 201 in terms of an average when it comes to their last 10 games against, again, righties. So I can't really get to backing them here. Give me the Dodgers on the money line. The fact that it's only -130 smells like a trap, but nonetheless, it is going to be the lean. Total sitting at 9 runs. Let's run it back with the under again. I don't think Arizona is going to score 4 runs today. I think that they're actually going to struggle. And maybe, you know, the Dodgers come in there and only score 5 or so. So we have a 5-3 type game, that type of thing. So give me the under 9. We're sticking to that sort of under trend with a little bit of regression from the Dodgers until I see another blow up sort of spot. You know, I could see Dodgers unders hitting for a couple games in a row now, just because they did have such high scoring games against, what was it, San Diego? Like all 5 or all 4 of those games were pretty high scoring games. All right, we're still awaiting a starting pitcher for Seattle in this one. We don't know who it is, but we do have odds now, +110 on the money line for Seattle. San Diego, -125 away on the money line, and the total sitting at 8.5. This one was funny. I was like, yesterday, I was like, okay, I like Seattle on the money line, but what I like more is the over. It was a 2-1, 2-0 game actually yesterday, so yeah, big ol' L there. We didn't make it a final play. We didn't end up rolling with it, but nonetheless, kind of funny that I kind of X'd myself off from looking at Seattle on the money line. That ends up cashing, but the over does not. But today, I do think that this could be, you know, a Seattle spot again. But Yu Darvish is on the mound for the Padres. We do at least know that he's pitched well against Seattle in the past. So, for what it's worth, but I do want to know who's on the mound for Seattle before leaning towards them. I just think they're playing really good baseball right now. They've won 8 of their last 10. They've won 8 of their last 9. If we want to make that sample size even more to our liking, but we got to know who's pitching for them before we pull any sort of a trigger. But I do like them at home for plus money today, but if it's nobody pitching, then we probably stick away from it. And obviously same thing for the total. Want to know who is on the mound before we pull the trigger on that. And that is all we have for you guys today. I hope you guys did enjoy the video. Make sure to go check out the Fade Me brand, guys. If you made it this far in the video, it means you are a real one, an OG, and you deserve some Fade Me merch. So make sure to go check it out. In fact, you know what? If you've made it this far in the video, I already gave you a promo code for 10% off, right? If you made it this far into the video, it means that you actually do, you know, appreciate the channel and whatnot. So if you do go and buy something right now, you can use code END25, meaning you made it to the end of the video, get 25% off. So that's really to the real ones that made it this far, but go cop some merch, guys. 25% off. I think we only did one of those, and that was like in the launch week, right? So shout out to you guys if you made it this far for that deal, but I'll catch you guys in the next video. All right, peace out.